no way. There's no way. It's way too much damage.
What?
What the block? He fell charged up.
Oh, and he found
wow.
Wow.
Oh, what? He gets out.
Somewhere there's a covert muffin just applauding this seed.
Holy crap.
Oh man, this is gonna come down to execution in the final escape, isn't it?
Sure is.
Every scene
Our
does.
favorite phrase.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time in the world it is for you. It is Ori Randomizer time. Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. Jay Halcyon Seed 9 versus Henri Seed 17. As you can see there on the screen, we're going to have complete parity between the runners with KBM, which as always feels good. My name is Shafe. I am joined by Turtle on comms. Had a chance, of course, to talk to the runners before the match. Talk to Hal. Feeling about Henri's match here, he feels decently confident about losing to Zemsis next week. So Zemsis, if you're around, a little bit of friendly trash talk from Hal. And we did ask Hal how awful he feels the water vein location is going to be, because we do have Jay Mall as our restreamer. So obviously we're going to get some rude locations, including Bash just being absolutely buried somewhere. And Hal thinks that the water vein is actually just going to be behind the Dash Tree Crusher, so fairly comfortable location for that. They are playing on the Wall Starve variation here today, which means we are less likely to see a wall jump or climb start, but of course that means we are going to see one, because the C-Gen has been memeing the heck out of Hal in practice seeds, but not too much with skill sets. So he's going to predict the usual good old climb, sea flame, glide for the first 45 minutes or so. And Turtle, you had a chance to talk to Henri. How's he feeling?
Heck yeah, he's also pretty nervous as he thinks that Hal is a very strong runner, which, I mean, he is, we've seen him, but Henry should not be counted out either, as he's made it the same distance into the tournament with his own skill set. As for the water vein, because again, we asked both of our runners, Henry is thinking of a little more of a devious location, somewhere in Sorrow Glideless, which would be great to see for all the damage boosts that could possibly lead to such a water vein location. As for the wall start seed that our runners have today, Henry said he's actually pretty okay with stuff like climb starts. What he really doesn't want is just that long, slow start where you get wall interaction and blue breakage and have to just walk all the way through the vanilla route of the game. So hopefully, for his sake, we won't see that, but we will see pretty soon what our runners will be getting for their first progression as they start up the seed right away.
Yeah, let's get the runner screens synced here. Jay Hal is going to be on your left. Henri is going to be on your right. First pickup is probably going to be a Keystone. That's my prediction, and they are spamming. Good luck on your end. We do find out it is an energy cell, which is always nice and comfy to have. Two non-randomized pickups are existent within this randomizer. This energy cell is one of them, coming up right there, because if you don't have energy to save, it turns out the gameplay feels pretty awful. On the unlikely event that you are joining us very late into the tournament, I do want to just give you a brief rundown of Ori. It is a Metroidvania 2D platformer, which means that the runners are going to be wandering around to pick up skills, unlock other locations to get more skills, and etc. until you can beat the game. And the randomizer is an item randomizer, so energy cells, keystones, skills, dungeon keys, health cells, ability cells, energy cells, all that good stuff is randomized throughout the world, but in accordance with a logic that functions very similarly in that the first 4 non-randomized pickups that the runners have available to them, of which we have seen a keystone and an energy cell. Some of those, combination of those 4, is going to unlock something else in order for them to go to other areas to get more things, to unlock other places, and so on, until they can beat the game. Forced Trees is our goal mode. The runners have to visit all 10 of the vanilla skill tree locations that are not assigned. We do have a grenade start here. Very nice to have. Likely to be a second keystone coming up here. Hal does take a bit of damage, not going to be able to do fake flippers. Henri is going to be able to. Yep, there's the second keystone, and it's an ability cell. So Hal's not going to be missing out on anything too consequential there. We also are playing on the clues mode, meaning that when the runners go and collect 3 trees, 3, 6, and 9 trees, they will get a clues to the location of one of the dungeon keys. And we do have 2 out of 3 here for the triumvirate of grenade jumps. here in the early going. Both runners are going to be heading immediately to the sea flame tree and picking up their first of 3 early trees that they have access to already with this skill set of climb and grenade.
And of course, as mentioned earlier, our runners are playing on a wall-starved seed, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be wall-starved. Seed gen can just be very, very mean sometimes, and just ignore what our runners want, as it has done here, where they now have climb as their second skill pickup, with grenade not giving any height gain otherwise, until they get something like bash, perhaps.
Yeah, always a little bit of a feels bad, man, to not have verticality to be able to sort of full clear glaze as you go through it on your first pass. You hope that you don't have to come back here for required progression later on, but Seed Gen is going to do what Seed Gen will do. In the early going, we do have Henri with a slight advantage of a mere couple seconds. Does slow down a little bit on that slime, actually, is going to allow Hal to catch up a little bit more as you see them look at this Mapstone altar. Mapstones function as IOU pickups in the game. So the top left is where you're going to see the mapstones pop up, and as they turn them into altars, whichever altar in the world, it doesn't matter, they will get a sequential pickup. So if the first turn in as a keystone, it will always be a keystone, regardless of whether they turn it into glades or swamp or wherever. Hal is immediately going to take the second keystone and double back into Spirit Caverns, as Henri's Frankie just decides to go to the cryogenics chamber for a little bit on top of that rock and then melt away. Very interesting. This video game is wonderful. As Hal picks up a mapstone in Spirit Caverns, and this is kind of why I sort of like this play from Hal. Oh, but Henri gets bashed. An elephantine pickup for Henri. He's got massive horizontal movement now in the form of bash glides. Hal's going to be a little bit sad about not getting that immediately for this micro ledge. Never mind, he gets it first try. And so yeah, a little bit of a speed advantage here for Henri in the early going, but Hal is definitely going to find that. That's a very common sequence of checks that he's going to be doing. So unfortunately for the runners, but fortunately for us, the commentators, and you, the viewers, the entire map is pretty much now open with Bashade, including other video games like Hollow Knight and The Messenger. The runners could go and make checks in those games if they wanted to.
Honestly, you're not that far off. Bash Grenade is just such a powerful skill. It gives horizontal movement, it gives verticality, it gives grenade, which is one of the things that locks off a bunch of different checks. It's just so beyond powerful. And we are already seeing Henri just use it to check a bunch of pickups high above him, to use it to zip around the map by bash gliding. And we are hopefully about to see Jay Halcyon get the pickup himself and do the exact same things, coming up in just a few seconds here.
Yeah, so the time differential you're seeing here in the early going is pretty much just Hal going and going to the Spirit Caverns area first, as opposed to Henri, who just went straight to the wall jump loop. Do anticipate that Jamal will eventually go to Spirit Caverns as well. And the first mapstone turn-in, by the way, just experienced, so nothing noteworthy on there. This is a save anywhere that Jamal is opening up, and actually Halcyon as well. Henri, sorry, not Jamal. I'm looking at Jamal in our Discord right now, and the brain does what the brain wants sometimes. Anyway, so Hal is using the save anywhere to gain some control of Ori as this cutscene is playing, so you can go up to this energy cell. He did do this play in a previous race that we commentated, and did end up actually skipping that energy cell, ended up doubling back for it later on, losing a lot of time. This time he waits for the energy cell to actually spawn, because sometimes when it's off screen it just does not exist, and does end up collecting it. 81 experience off of this. I was talking about the save anywhere before my brain spaghettied, and the way that functions is that we open up the ability menu, trick it into thinking that we have closed it, which gives us control of Ori, and then we level up a thing on the skill tree and it saves the game. We use that for a bunch of different tricks. The main one that you're going to see here is cutscene skips, as both Billy and Millie decide to go and lick Halcyon's shoes there, and Hal's having absolutely none of it, sends them off to oblivion, and Henri is heading into the second portion here of Blackroot Auto-Scroller goodness, but Bashnade, very nice to have, is going to allow him to skip all of this. A triple grenade setup over to the right is going to allow him to go straight up to the lever and pull it. Probably the fastest skill set that you can have for Blackroot, in all honesty, is Bashnade to speed all of this up. So on that front, even though the runners may not necessarily be happy about Bashnade in terms of you know, having to wander the map for 45 minutes. They're definitely happy to have it here in Blackroot.
Yep, absolutely. And so Henry is taking a little bit more of a lead as Jayhal spent a little bit of time setting up an energy in that 4 energy door to the right of spawn. That took a little bit of time. He got it second try, which is very, very fast. But that did take some time, and it might come into play later, but it also might not. We'll see what happens in terms of their energy and their access to the right side of the map, because that 4 energy door is probably the fastest way if they can open it, of course.
Yeah, possible Frankie walk option here on 2 energy if they manage their experience correctly, and or finding a 3rd energy and taking advantage of the energy glitch. As you mentioned, as Hal is going to take this shot on 1 health, has to time his jump very carefully in order to catch that projectile and double bash up on top. This will save him a little bit of time coming back up to the top of Blackroot. Henri is not satisfied with health regen on the ability cell. He's going to go check dash plants, and is dash plant a meme? No, it isn't. It is a swamp teleporter. That is right side access. We'll not need to worry about the Death Gauntlet in terms of fast right side access. However, it does mean they won't be going into Grotto, which Turtle, as I'm sure you're well aware, is a very dense area of pickups that we're probably going to see the runners be aligned to here in the near future.
Oh, absolutely. And with how early Grotto can be in almost every single set of logic, it almost always has some form of progression in it, which not only makes it great for a probability check with how dense it is, it's just great because it's in logic early, and it's usually something very nice. So we will hopefully see our runners go there pretty quickly, unless they decide to make a soul read for something else, which is always a viable option, especially with Dash Grenade, where literally everything is open to them. They can do whatever they want in whatever order they want, as long as they're comfortable with the tricks that they need to get there.
And the first clue that we do get is the Sunstone is in Ginzo, which is actually a pretty nice hint to get in terms of information. It does mean that the water main cannot be in Horu. So we will end up avoiding that particular bit of nastiness at the very least. Looks like Henri's going to be setting up here for a bash sequence utilizing our good friend Marvin the Frankie to stomp this peg for us and gain early access into Grotto. Has decided to take this as the shortcut instead of going around with the Swamp TP or using Death Gauntlet Energy Door. I do like that. I also like this play generally from the runners to come back here and just gain some information as well in terms of you know, where Dash might be. And you take a look at these pickups. Ooh, Marvin dies actually off of the experience level up, so Henri's going to reload that in case he needs to use them to break into Grenade later on. Heads up play from him. And yeah, pushing into Grotto here. 20 experience on that map stone, as we saw from Halcyon, who is actually, you know, despite the early Spirit Caverns play, pretty close to Henri's position here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if he goes for the same trick to bash Marvin onto the peg. Oh, it looks like he will be, but also grabs that experience, levels up, and was about to kill Marvin, and just reloads. Marvin is very, very valuable, and if he dies, he will never respawn. Both of our runners decide, no, we really, really want Marvin to stay alive the entire game, so we can use him later. But both of them will also be using him to bash this peg and gaining their access to Grotto. Again, a very nice play. Oh, but Hal does bash Marvin a 4th time, and 4 is too many for poor Marvin. That will take him out. Hal has decided to cut his losses and say, well, I'll probably find a way into Grenade Tree later without Marvin. Let me just go on with my seed now that I have Grotto open and see what I can find.
Second mapstone turn-in is an energy cell for Hal that could come back to cost Hal in later going, but with Climb in the pocket, there are 2 options to be able to break that floor still for Hal, and finding either Charge Jump or Stump. So Climb Start, in a way, kind of fortuitous for him. Doesn't have to worry about finding both Climb and Charge Jump, just has to worry now about finding Charge Jump, as Henri is going to be beelining here for the double jump tree, taking that bash nade and playing very aggressive. Runners do have some extra health here as well, which is always nice to have. Henri, as you can see on the right side, is up to 5. Hal, I believe, is also up to 5 now, yep, with that pickup above this grotto area here, and another one in the Crushers, heading towards the double jump tree. So 6 health is kind of roughly where you want to be, 6 or 7 health, just to be able to complete the final escape. When you have Bash and Stomp, you can do it with 5 HP, but 6 is always nice, the lever to have. Never know if you're going to be able to find Stomp not so. Forlord TP here for Henri. Ooh, spicy possibilities.
Yep, of course it's not in logic until they find the Gumon seal, but if our runners do decide, well, it's a decent area to check quickly, they can still go, as we are on the other side seeing Jay Halcyon do a save drop to get through this insta-kill laser. Unfortunately, it looks like he misses it and has to reload a backup save. That is a great backup save, as it will let him try the trick again very easily. Because if he does this, he will get access to 2 of these pickups down here that usually require 4 energy before he has it.
Yeah, I think he's decided that time loss is not worth it, and he's just going to back out immediately. Unfortunately, his save was just a little bit too far to the right, so he did not have the position that he wanted to be able to drop through the laser. He was actually just still barely touching the platform on the right-hand side. Mega Energy here for Henri is going to be comfy for Death Gauntlet access. That is something that Hal did not get with the way that he routed his early game, so... Ooh, coming up here for Glazer from Henri, right side of your screen, taking this 4 energy to gain access to Spirit Caverns and save some Keystones as well. That is some top-tier awareness from Henri, utilizing the extra resource from the temporary Mega Energy to save himself a few Keystones. And he will be completing the Glazer check as well behind this. It's a little bit faster when you have Bash. You can actually use this Frankie to bash the rock forward for you a little bit faster. So nice to have that as well. Just some general nice kind of tech and awareness overall from Henri here in the early going. As you see left side, Hal's going to be making his way to the double jump tree and does have, again, a plethora of teleporters at their behest. They do have the Grove Teleporter, the Swamp Teleporter, the Forlorn TP. The runners can go basically anywhere at the moment except the left side of the map, logically speaking. Anyway, they can do a bash trick to gain access to Valley, but we'll see whether or not that happens.
Yeah, and so our runners are at pretty much crossroads of the entire game right now. It looks like Hal is going to be making the play. Yes, with that energy glitch he performed earlier, to go through this 4 energy door into Death Gauntlet, which will get him pretty quick access to the Grotto Teleporter, which is a very central teleporter to the entire right side of the map. He already has the Swamp Teleporter, I believe, so this will just complete his set over on this side of the map and be very, very nice. And he can also check a bunch of pickups in the Death Gauntlet as well, as we are seeing him do a swim with a Frankie, just a bunch of experience. There will be more pickups along the way. On the other side, we are seeing Henri look into Valley entry. Valley again with a Frankie manipulation if he would like to, but otherwise he's just going to be using grenades, opening up Valley long swim, interestingly enough, but also grabbing it up with other pickups.
I think that was accidentally. He was looking to throw the grenade at the plant and accidentally hit the lantern instead. Yeah, he reloads because he actually... Oh, he finds Stomp. Okay, so logical left side. Valley entry proving to be indeed the correct play, and he is going to immediately take that over to the Speg and I imagine go to Feather very quickly, knocking out another tree to progress towards that water vein clues. Hal does complete Death Gauntlet, does get wall jump for his efforts there. Just kind of a bit of a nice thing for him to have at this point with Climb and Bash Nade. It's not like super helpful other than like default muscle memory assistance. A couple areas where it would prove valuable, but he's going to take that Swamp TP. We're going to see some new checks from both sides here. Looks like Hal's going to opt for the outer Swamp Loop first, opening up this SA to skip the cutscene here at Ginzo and continue on to the right as Henri is heading to Valley entry. A little bit low on HP here too, and change health with that health regen. Does stall out for the bird and wants to double bash it up in order to be able to stomp it and use the sort of spreading effect from the stomp animation there to deal damage to this wall and break it open, and there it does on the second try. Gets it and gets Charge Flame, which is quality of life, but with grenade not particularly the biggest find either.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of quality of life pickups for both runners.
Ooh, double jump,
including another
nice.
one from Henri right there. Yeah. Just wall jump, great to have. Charge flame, great to have. Double. Oh boy, and there's a pickup that's more than great to have.
Valley is absolutely loaded. Henri with a massive advantage here now. He's got Stomp, he's got Double Jump, he's got the Water Vein, he's got the Sunstone Clue. Like, this is... He's even got Wall Break for the final escape. If Henri wanted to, he could treat this as full-blown go mode right now. As Hal is going to be taking Ringo for a bit of a jaunt over here into Swamp Entry, and is going to be using the projectile from the frog to break both this floor and the subsequent ceiling without having Stomp or Charge Jump. He wants to push trees as well. I like this aggression from Hal, but definitely Henri right now, both in terms of knowledge and skill set, 100% in the driver's seat in this race.
Yeah, that Valley ascent was just absolutely stacked in terms of both skills and that Water Vein. Hal will eventually have to go there, of course, and find his Stomp, which will also give him access to his Grenade Tree with Marvin dead. But every moment he spends here is a moment he spends without Double Jump and without the Water Vein. So he's searching for something like that, and we know he won't find it. He might still find Charge Jump or Dash somewhere over here, which would also be very, very impactful. But those very key pickups in Valley, he's still missing as of right now.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that, like, in terms of like skill parity here, or skill unparity, if you will, disparity, like, as much as Henri's got like a whole bunch of comfort here, Hal is definitely capable of doing most of the things Henri can do with this skill set. Just lacking Double Jump is basically going to make Sorrow a little bit harder. But other than that, like, Hal's not too far behind here, depending on like how aggressive he decides to push. As Henri is in Forlorn, is going to check a few things here. I did set up for a key dupe as well, so he doesn't have to worry about that for Sorrow or Genzo. Another just nice awareness thing from Henri, keeping in mind the things that he has available to him and using them to his fullest advantage. Now sitting above into the double-digit keystone count, can definitely just go to Genzo, go to Sorrow, and yeah, he's only got 10 keystones left that he needs. Yeah, 4 for Genzo, 4 for Sorrow, and 2 for Stomp Tree. So he's good on his keystone count now and can just straight up push trees if he wants, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He's heading down to the Grenade Tree.
Meanwhile, Halcyon is done with the Stomp Tree on his side, and now once again has a lot of areas that he can get to. He's continuing to check pickups, a lot of underwater pickups, noting that he has quite a decent amount of health for these poison water swims, with some other tricks like that cutscene where you can just kind of float down in the water without taking damage. It's a very smart move, and it will let him check that pickup. Unfortunately, not anything super useful, but little tricks like that have been letting Hal check so many extra pickups just to see if he can find his next form of progression. Unfortunately, we know it is in Valley, and it looks like, yeah, he will be making the play for Valley and grabbing that insane gauntlet of great skills and the Water Vein that we know is hidden here.
Yeah, so he's going to be catching up on skill with Henri here in very short orders. Henri is having a bit of trouble with that grenade puzzle. He takes a death to the lasers as well, setting him back to the Grenade Tree entrance, and he decides to forfeit those pickups and just zombie his way here into the Grenade Tree, basically intentionally dying to these lasers and taking the respawn, and then saving and then continuing on and so forth, allows him to gain access here relatively quickly at the cost of the ability points. Probably some of this extra digging here on Henri's side, I would imagine, is actually for some of those resources, knowing that he doesn't have Glide for Sorrow. Probably wants to pick up a little bit more health, a couple more ability cells for zombie shenanigans and that kind of thing, just to make his life a little bit easier once he decides to go to Sorrow. But Hal does now have Stomp, is going to very shortly find Double Jump at the fast Stompless ability cell, and then the Water Vein over at the XP. Presuming he checks that, that actually is a pickup some runners will skip, depending. So keep an eye here on the left side of your screen as Hal is making his way up top. Does know the Stomp trick here for the bird, gets it very nice, and will continue on acquiring Sea Flame, Double Jump, Water Vein, etc.
Meanwhile, on the other hand, we are seeing Henri TP back over to the right side, going for that Stomp Tree himself, as both Roadrunners are now just double-checking areas where the other has already been. Or, actually, Henri could be doing the Ginso Tree as well, with the Water Vein in his hand already.
Okay, that's actually pretty important. As I just alluded to, Hal did skip that one experience that's over to the left of that spider, which is the water vein. Fortunately, it's a fairly fast check for him to get back to, but there are so many pickups available in Valley with Stomp and Bash Nade going all the way down to Forlorn Approach that if he decides to orphan that and clear out the rest of Valley, like that's extremely bad for Hal. This was a fairly even race up until that skipped check. Hal acquiring his 6th tree right now. Henri also at 6 as he's digging around in Swamp. But missing that water vein is absolutely massive for the state of the race. If Hal does not like immediately go for that check once he has the water vein clue, this is super bad.
Yeah, he will, I believe, get a clue on the feather, and we'll see if it's for the water vein or not. If it is, he will immediately know that, okay, it's somewhere in Valley. I can start checking. Yep, it will be
Yep,
the water
it
vein
is.
Valley clue.
Okay, that's
and
good
we will
news.
see what he does. It looks like he's going into Lower Valley, which is not where the water vein is. So he will be orphaning that pickup for a little bit as he checks the rest of Valley. Still might find something like Dash or Charge Jump with how absolutely stacked Valley has been so far. And that would also be just a great pickup in terms of movement and mobility. But that water vein is 100% needed for the seed to continue on.
Yeah, thankfully for Hal, Henri's being a little bit thorough here. Full clearing Outer Swamp, which is taking a little bit of time, and that's sort of the same kind of time sink that Hal's going to be making here in Lower Valley. So, as you know, it's good for Hal on that front. But yeah, he's still in a bad position. He can check everything here on the way into Lower Valley, so the only thing left after this, fortunately for him, since he can full clear this, is basically going to be that one pickup. So, depending on how fast he does this and how thorough Henri continues to end up being, we could see it still be fairly even. But yeah, definitely getting that water vein clue on 6 was important for Hal. He was able to immediately start digging here, not having to waste a teleporter animation or try and route Valley back in. He just had access to this pretty immediately, so good for him.
And while he's digging through for his water vein, Henri is heading towards trees, but also digging as well. Probably for an easier way through Sorrow. He has found quite a bit of health in Swamp, which will be very nice if he decides to do a damage boost, as well as some zombieing. Otherwise, he's probably just hoping for a glide, or of course dash and charge jump, just to make movement that much easier and quicker through Sorrow as well as the rest of the seed.
Thanks, Sigma. So we'll be interesting to see here. I don't know where Hal placed his last save. There's quite a bit of resources here. It'll kind of be interesting to see whether he decides to backload this or altar and then just go to... Yeah, he's going to altar. He wants to keep the resources and he's going to head back to the teleporter. So pretty much only Valley Long Swim and that one experience pickup as you head over to Kuro is available for Hal. So depending on what he decides to do here. Okay, he's going to take Stomp and he's going to go get Great Ape Tree out of the way. He's probably thinking to himself that those are the 2 pickups that are left, so he's got a pretty good idea of where the water vein is going to be and doesn't really have to concern himself with it too much.
And of course, if he believes that Valley Longswim is in the pickup check, he's really going to want clean water in order to check that, because the only other way to do it is just take a huge amount of damage boosting, pretty much requiring a bunch of health and ultra defense in order to make it all the way through that poison swim. So if he's looking for something, that's also going to be on his mind. Clean water, health, and ability cells for ultra defense to make sure he can check Valley Longswim, just in case.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it might be a case of random bring too that he's not thinking about that one pickup that he missed, which would be highly, highly unfortunate. But that said, Runners do have a whole bunch of health. They are picking up a whole bunch of ability cells. Unfortunately, if you take a look at Howl's ability tree there, he is skilled a lot of points into the purple tree, looking for some extra experience and pushing towards sense, which functions as a hot-cold indicator for important pickups like skills or dungeon keys. And so if he continues to push into the purple tree here, he's not going to have ultra defense for that Valley Long Swim, which may be the one thing that he thinks that he hasn't checked. But with this amount of health as he continues to push through the seed, Mega Health actually, if he saves that, that would be enough for him to be able to go into VLS directly.
We are still going to see him push up the purple tree, There are still some pickups where Sense will definitely be useful for. Dash, Charge Jump are both hidden in the world, as well as the Sunstone is somewhere, although we know it's in the Ginso tree somewhere at least. And those pickups are typically pretty quick to check, as Ginso's a very linear area. Sense will still be helpful for that. So making the play for that is still a decent idea on Halcyon's side.
As far as he knows, anyway. As far as we know, it's actually a bad play. Because we just found Glide in Ginzo right before the Bash Tree in the Keystone Room right before that, which is like 100% go mode for Henri. All he's got to do now is finish out the Ginzo Tree, get the Sunstone, and then head out into Sorrow, and he can finish the Seed. So, Sense is not going to work out for Hal, but with this health and the Mega Health that he's currently got in his back pocket, yeah, he's forgotten about that pickup at the Kuro entry. He's going to be taking this Mega Health over to VLS by the looks, and then questioning his life choices. As Henri is continuing into the Ginzo tree, this energy cell is an energy cell. Up to 5 now for Henri. Nice to have that little bit of extra in the back pocket. As we see Hal heading over to VLS, so this is going to be actually worth noting the key dupe that Henri did earlier on in Forlorn. Actually, looks like it might end up paying off a little bit here. Okay, no, he finds another keystone. So he's still got an extra 4 from his key duping, as he's going to be checking Upper Ginzo, which is where the Sunstone is presently hiding. The only question remaining is whether it is in the 2 experience pickups to the left, the plant to the right, or the escape.
Of course, as a viewer, we always hope it's the escape because the music is great and we get to watch more Ori, but it is a little bit of a difficult area. Although our runners do have Bash and will make it up, it's just they have to outrace a river unless they decide to skip it and know the trick for that. Meanwhile, Hal does, looks like, get down to Valley Long Swim, checks it, and there is nothing there for him, unfortunately. So he will not still know where the water vein is until he remembers that one experience that he checked. And yeah, it looks like he's TPing right out to Valley. He might remember it and go immediately for it, find his water vein there, and will be able to make the same progress as we've seen Henri doing.
Man, I just remembered Fax is a thing, and he's going to Fax. Or Misty? Misty. Okay, he's just decided to do Misty. And he's grabbing Sense as he does so. So I imagine he's probably not going to be checking anything else here in Misty aside from whatever Sense triggers on. And Henri, you have Stomp. You don't need... You can just stomp the ball. You're good. Okay, sure. Okay, he's gonna bash the projectile. It's fine. Vanilla strats just wants to show us the way that it's supposed to be done in the vanilla game. It's all good. Extra air dash, totally functional for Hal, who does not have dash. So obviously that's a very valuable pickup for him to get here in this scene. And yeah, this Sunstone location being a little bit rude, forcing a full clear of Ginzo by the looks, but Henri with roughly a 2-minute advantage or so. Currently on Hal, and there's the Sunstone on the plant. So rip our Ginzo escape dreams. Sad times indeed.
But that will be full go mode probably for Henri, as he now has an easy maneuverability through Sorrow, the Sunstone, enough Bash and Grenade and Glide to get through Misty. So he just has to go finish those last 2 trees, the Charge Jump and Climb tree, and then he will be able to make it straight to the final escape, as he uses all of his extra ability cells to level up Ultra Defense, which will be very helpful in these late game areas where spikes and enemies do quite a bit more damage than we've seen so far from the right side.
Yeah, Hal's not having too much of a problem on that front in Misty. He's got about half of his hit points left, but plenty of energy to save and recoup some of that. So he'll be fine even without the Ultra Defense, especially in the final escape. Even like you're sitting on 10 health, like for runners of this caliber, like Ultra Defense is just quality of life at that point. It's not really like I kind of need this to do strats sort of deal. The downside, I think, for Hal more so in missing the blue tree is triple jump, actually. Because he doesn't have Glide here for Misty, which Henri does, as you can see, having that advantage of being able to float. Okay, convenient health refill for Hal right there. That's always nice. So never mind. But yeah, having that extra bit of airstall with double jump and turning that into triple jump does make things function sort of like pseudo Glide-esque. But that's probably the only thing Hal would be looking for out of the purple tree with this amount of health. Plant is 74 XP. Henri is on his way to his second to last tree. He just needs to finish up this climb tree, then go to charge jump, and he can head to the final escape.
In Hal's sense, through his entire run of Misty, has seemingly not triggered, which is good for him, as it means he won't need to dig into the second half of Misty for something like Charge Jump if he thinks Fax is the only option for his Water Vein. But that also means that, well, Charge Jump and Dash could be anywhere else, and he will still have to look and sense around to see if he can find those pickups, or, of course, the Water Vein itself. As he's teleporting back to Misty, potentially going to go up to Sorrow. I don't know if you can sense that pickup through the wall, but if he does, that would be great for him, as it will give him his Water Vein and access to the Ginso tree where he will find Glide.
Yep, he's changing color. He sees it. Going from that bright yellow to a darker shade of yellow by the look. So, yep, he opens up his map and goes, oh no. Sees what it is, and he's going to double back for that. Good for him that he's going to do that instead of the extremely difficult, annoying, aggravating, and nobody ever wants to do it Fax check without climb, charge, jump. So you'll get a Water's Vein. The question here, I think, really for Hal, as much as it's probably a case of too little too late, whether or not he goes to Ginso first is sort of going to decide whether or not he's got an outside shot at this. And it looks like, yeah, he's going to alt-R and do Ginso first. That does mean he's going to get Glide, which is going to make Sorrow significantly easier for him. But missing that Water Vein pickup and full clearing Lower Valley so far kind of the difference in this race.
Yep, just one pickup can determine an entire race sometimes. The randomizer will do what the randomizer wants, whether our runners like it or not. In this case, Hal is probably not liking what the randomizer has done. That was not a good Water Vein pickup for him. Just the one thing he happened to skip happened to be the one thing he very, very much needed. So he has it now, and just he doesn't know how much time he's left, and he's going to be racing forward, trying to catch up to Henry, who is already doing Sorrow Bash. Perfect first try every time, using that bird in double dash to get right up into Sorrow. Once he's up past this little ledge here, he will be able to use Glide to just float on by. Very easy, very free. He has enough keystones from his dupe earlier to make it through that door, and that will let him get his final tree, the Charge Jump tree.
Yeah, worth noting actually, Hal with Sense can skip everything in Ginso that Henri checked. Looks like he's not doing that though, but if he does, he will save a fair amount of time on Henri in terms of the Ginso clear. So looking to see that from Hal on the left side of your screen. In the meantime, we do have a difficult trick that Henri is going to be performing here to gain up to access to the Charge Jump area, and this is a very difficult sequence of dash, is using this Mortar Shark. The projectile is definitely sort of volatile in comparison to other projectiles like Spider Shots, which have a very linear trajectory. These Mortar Shots like to really get hauled down by gravity, and Henri is struggling with that right now, and every single attempt that Henri makes at this is an opportunity for Hal to catch up. And so far, Henri is not even able... man, Ori take, Henri, Ori take. He's can't get this first bash off right now. He could go all the way around through the lasers with triple jump and strats and break the floor that way. But so far, he is committing to this bash sequence with this Mortar Shark and is having a difficult time with it. And in that span, Hal has gotten to the bash tree. And yeah, looks like Henri's bailing on that, and he's going to go wrap around now into left Sorrow.
That Mortar Shot is just so hard to maneuver. If it hits Ori, it explodes and you can't use it anymore. If it hits a wall, it explodes and you can't use it anymore. You're constantly fighting gravity, and Henri's just deciding it might even just be faster to take the vanilla way around. Though being long is absolutely doable, and will get him the same access to that floor, which he can stomp and get through to the rest of Upper Sorrow. But that time loss is definitely going to be a factor now, as Hal is quickly catching up as he looks for his Sunstone himself. We know it's in a decently late area of Ginso, but Hal with Sense will be able to skip a lot of the pickups that we saw Henri get here earlier, as, well, he knows they're nothing because they're not turning him into a little black Ori, and he will just be able to zip right past, although some of the ones on his way he will gladly grab, as it is more keystones, more energy, more health, just nice to have if they're right on his way anyway.
Yeah, he is unfortunately, like, even though, like, it's not necessarily, like, a bad player or anything for him to be checking these pickups on the way, it is still, like, just a half second here, another second there that he is bleeding in a race that he's behind. But fortunately for him, actually, Henri struggling with this Sorrow is actually giving him an opportunity. Hal is going to lose a bit of time here going left instead of right first. Of course, we have the knowledge that he does not, in which the Sunstone is on the plant to the right-hand side, as Henri looks like he's going to be setting up for said Tumbleweed stomps the peg down, and is going to roll the Tumbleweed up over this laser for protection to be able to stomp the floor afterwards. Sorrow Crack RNG is a thing. Does get a first try though, stomps down the floor and now can float up. And the hard part of Sorrow is done for Henri. Hal did gain a little bit of time here, just on the basis of that struggle that Henri was having, but again, still a very tough position here for Hal. Does get his Sunstone, and is going to be immediately pushing for that charge jump tree. It does look like he has enough keystones there, so I don't think that's going to be a particular issue for him. But Henri here with, no, he's 3 keystones, sorry, that looked like 5 on my end, so he might need to check a few things for keystones on the way, but other than that, they might just decide to dupe instead of doing that. I'm going to Bash Nade up here and do his Sorrow Bash attempt as Henri is done the charge jump tree and heading towards the final escape.
Yep, that is about a full Sorrow advantage that Henri has over Hal right now. Just 1 charge jump tree, and they're about at skill parity, so it's really going to come down to how fast Hal can do Sorrow and how fast Henri can complete the final escape with this skill set. Which is absolutely doable, as he has quite a few very powerful skills like Bash Nade and Triple Jump and Ultra Defense, so he will be probably able to get through here in a decent amount of time, meaning he just needs to finish his seed out quickly enough, as Hal is looking to do the same Mortar Bash and having, again, trouble with it. It's such a difficult trick that just sometimes will just hit you in the face and say, nope, you almost made it, but nope, you did not.
Did not get rid of the frog here that's standing on this ledge, which sometimes can be a problem, sometimes not, because you can either end up having Bash target the frog, depending on its positioning, or one of the projectiles that it shoots, but the frog plays nice. And I think that was only like 2nd, maybe 3rd try for Hal there on that, so significant time catch up on that front in terms of the Sorrow clear for Hal, but having missed the water vein for such a long period of time, a big unfortunate. Does check these 2 pickups here, looking for that extra keystone. Didn't find it, so he's going to go just do one little quick key dupe here, and then head on to the charge jump tree himself. Keys in the door, good. When you don't put the keys in the door first and you start taking damage, that always makes me worry a little bit. Henri does get door warp relatively quickly. Good on him, and he's going to be starting his final escape as Hal completes his key dupe, heads off to the charge jump tree. So yeah, very close race here in all honesty, despite you know, the location of the water vein kind of trolling Hal there for a little bit. And all we have left is Henri finishing the escape on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yep. And Hal is now just racing to catch up, about a 2.5, or Henry's about 2.5 minutes from the end, and Hal is that much behind, plus the walk over, or the bash glide over to Mount Horu itself. So this right now is Henry's race to lose. He is getting through the floors, zipping through even without dash. Those bash glides are just very, very quick movement. And he will be making his way past these lasers. Even with his amount of health, there are quite a lot of insta-kills in this room, or in this final escape. So he will be trying his best to avoid them, obviously, because, well, he doesn't want to die. Using this elemental to bash through, he's now got just the poison swim and his final room before he finishes this scene.
Yeah, and with Glide doesn't have to worry about any shenanigans with fish or bash nade positions or anything like that. It just glide and float on up. Ultra Defense definitely helping him take some damage here. Has 5 HP remaining out of his 10 max. Pretty comfortable position. Climbing up the wall because that's just all he can do. Bashing off of the rocks. Crosses the cutscene trigger in about 1 minute and 20 seconds of Henri holding a right. And he will advance to face the loser of tomorrow's match between Evo and Zemsys. And unfortunately, this being a lower bracket match does mean that Hal is out of the tournament. Jatan cry. Ori cry. Ori sad. But it is a tournament, and that's how it goes. As Hal is going to be starting his Horu entrance. Will he door warp or will he violence is the question of the day. It looks like he's going to attempt for door warp, misses it on the first try. Second attempt is not good. Third attempt is Good. All right. He's got the door warp, so no violence. We did see violence earlier, so I guess we'll just have to make do with our previous murder. It's Henri floating down now into the second half of this two-portion cutscene. Just holds right for about 20-ish more seconds, and he will be done, and he will be advancing on.
We had 2 of the 3 skills required for G-Jump very, very early on in the seed, but unfortunately without Charge Jump, no G-Jumps are in this set right now, and they were not able to skip that first half of the cutscene, but that doesn't matter for Henri, as he is now through the second half, will finish out his seed with a final time of 42:15, winning this race. GG to Henri.
Yeah, and if he decides to pop in for an interview, we will drag him in here momentarily. Currently not on deck. We'll wait to see whether he is available to do so. Whether or not he's got IRL stuff going on afterwards, etc., etc. The runners can join. Great. If not, also great. Hal unfortunately does spawn Kuro and takes a death there. And the final room will have to start again. Does offer the GG in the race time chat. So Hal does know that he has lost the race. Some runners prefer to watch the race time room, other runners don't, and that is completely up to their discretion, and that is fine. And yeah, Hal in this lantern room, jumping off of the wall, a little bit of a wraparound jump to stop, the sea flame to break the wall, bash up, bash to the right. Don't have to worry about right side bashes for G-jumps, because as you alluded to, no G-jumps for the runners for this final escape. Mentioning that because of weird things that happen with G-jumps that we recently scienced out is through the swim. Does bash up towards the trigger. Does glide over it this time. But doesn't have to worry about an angry owl, and up off of the falling rocks of doom, crossing the line, and that will be Hal finishing off in about 1:20. He is waiting on deck. We'll wait for him to finish holding right before we pull him in. And no word from Henri just yet, so we'll give him a couple extra seconds, maybe shake off some of those nerves and see what's going on. Yep, there he is. Boop. All right, we are joined by the winner of this race, Henri. GG.
GG.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So, Dash was the far left Kuma hideout XP, and Charge Jump was Horror L4, just in case you were interested in the last 2 skills.
Oh, nice locations.
Yeah, probably not finding that anytime soon.
As always.
So I wanted to ask about like the entire sequence of Valley, because you find Stomp, and then you're like, okay, I'll go get Feather. And then you find Charge Flame, and you're like, okay, the final escape's a bit easier. And then you find Double Jump, and you're like, what? And then you find Water Vein, and you're like, Slim Shady.
Yeah, everything was stacked in Bali. I was about going just checking Bali entry. I know that I could do the double bash to the front key and open my way to Bali, but I just decided to check those and try to maybe go by Spad Sag. I think was the logical progression. But then I found Storm and I said, oh, okay, wait, I can get a 3 for free, so let's go.
So was that sort of like the position where you were like in go mode, or were you still hunting for glide for Sorrow Pass at that point?
I was looking for glide. That was the reason that I went to Sorrow as last location, to be more comfortable with the skills. But it was good anyway.
Now joined by Hal as well in the commentary booth. Hal, GG. Sorry to see you out of the tournament, buddy, but a well-played race.
Yeah, thanks. GG, Henri.
GG, Sal.
So I ask you the same thing that I just asked Henri, Hal. That Valley, absolutely stacked. You go into entry, you get Stomp, then you get Sea Flame, then you get Double Jump. What was going through your head at that point when like everything unloaded on you all at once?
I mean, I got double jump there on Stomp Lacelle, and I kind of just went, oh, I go mode. Okay, go to the feather, get the feather. That turned out to bite me because I skipped the water vein. Yeah,
kind of unfortunate sequence there as well. You dug down into a forward approach after getting your clue on the feather tree, and Rando was Rando, and definitely a fair decision on your part to be like, oh, this is go mode, and then you just stop checking pickups until you get a clue. So like totally understandable. Other than that, though, how did you feel that you performed in the seed overall in terms of your execution and your routing? This was a fairly close race within a couple minutes of final finish time here. Henri with a 42.16, you with a 45.02, so roughly around the 3-minute mark difference. Do you feel that you played this one fairly well?
You know, aside from missing Watervane there and completely forgetting about that pickup, I was convinced that Watervane was on Fax. And then that death in the final escape after I saw Henri finish and spawned Kuro. I'm pretty darn happy with how I played this. It was a little bit scattered, but you know, I kind of got bailed out there after accidentally killing Melvin and got away with it.
Turtle Man, you got some questions lined up?
Yeah, for sure. We say you guys both have pretty different routing in terms of your ability points and skill trees. So I'd like to ask each of you about that. Henri, first, you tended to stick toward the blue-green tree for triple jump, which paid off pretty well. Do you typically go for that, or is that for triple jump specifically, or did you just think you had enough skills to not go sense?
No, I usually go for this branch, but in case I never found any skills like in progression during 20 minutes, I would have gone for sense.
Okay, yeah. And then Hal, on the other hand, you went pretty far up the purple tree early on, including finding sense. Is that something you typically go for, or were you just trying to find another power skill or an easier check for the water vein?
You know, I really didn't have anything that was pushing me toward the blue tree when I was skilling my points up and I had a ton of ability points. So I said, okay, I'll grab Spirit Light Efficiency at least, get the double XP rolling, and then when it came down to, I hit that spot where I was like, okay, I have my clues for everything and I know where I'm going. I'm just going to grab Sense. I was kind of dissuaded because Ginso and the Ginso clue on the Sunstone. Ginso's not really a place where Sense helps a lot, but that valley water vein, I got bailed out. I would have climbed up, done Sorrow, and then gone down and done Fax and been very disappointed.
Yeah, great routing from both of you in terms of your ability cells, getting you what you needed to complete the seed. Shafe, back to you for anything else you want to ask.
No, I'm good to go other than one more question, actually, for Henri, now that I'm thinking about it. Your next opponent, my friend, is going to be whoever loses tomorrow's match between Evo and Zemsis. Do you have a preference as to who you'd like to face, and if so, why?
Not really. I don't want to play against any of them.
Yeah, there's no safe place on the bracket. Every opponent is scary. That's totally a relatable mood. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time. And I'll get onto those matches for tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern, Trojan Dude versus Triton Knight, and 5:00 Eastern, Evo versus Emphasis. Make sure to stay tuned to your SpeedGaming schedule to find out which channel we end up getting allocated to for that. Thank you very much, Turtle, for joining me on commentary. Appreciate it.
And thank you too, Shafe.
And thank you to our trackers, Guard, Lion, Almanar, and our restreamer, Jim. My name is Shafe, and we'll see you tomorrow for more Ori Rando action.